Moving on from question 4 to question 5 for this first passage of reading comprehension drill set number 3 over at lawhub.lsac.org. As always, we know that our main idea highlights are selected once we reach the fifth question of any passage, but we've got our highlight tool ready to go so we can identify and mark what the task is for number 5, which reads, in the passage, the author primarily seeks to. So this is basically asking, what is the main idea in another way? And once more, hopefully we've got an idea of that main idea from our main idea highlights and wouldn't need to reread at this moment. But for the purposes of this video, I will reread those highlights so that we've got an idea here in this video alone about what the author has been speaking. So we start, her focus was on the designer who must work within the confines of an existing house, producing a good design upon the background of a faulty and illogical structure. This theme of enclosure appears in her fiction as well, serving there as a metaphor for the multifarious constraints imposed by society and tradition. The metaphor of enclosure expressed her ambivalence toward a society that she perceived as both confining and at the same time providing needed structure. This preference is in keeping with her vehement rejection of those artists and movements that, on the surface at least, most represented change, and that called for, among other things, the abandonment of the closed forms of mainstream genres. Since the competing claims of tradition and individual autonomy constitute a recurrent theme in Wharton's short stories, form reflects content, in this case by incorporating the same dialectic of enclosure. So hopefully we've got our overall main narrative in mind, and we're going to keep that highlight tool at the ready and identify and mark reasons to eliminate, and potentially why one of the answer choices matches this overall main idea that Wharton worked within the constraints of her time and the short story form rather than trying to blow up everything just because she felt stifled by society in some ways. So, starting with choice A, point out how Wharton created opportunities for self expression within established conventions. Well, ding, 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 this matches what we just read only from the main idea highlights pretty well. So I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to select A, and now I can potentially go a little bit more quickly through the remaining answer choices, seeking reasons to eliminate. So choice B, explain how Wharton overcame society's constraints and became a financially successful novelist. Well, this is not the primary purpose. Maybe it happened. We did talk about her being financially independent, if you recall from one of the other videos, but it's certainly not the primary concern. And that's important. Don't select a detail that's true as what the author is primarily seeking to do. Then choice C, contrast Wharton's life and attitudes with traditional stereotypes placed upon women. Well, we're concerned with her work, not her life and attitude, so we can eliminate C almost immediately for that reason. Then choice D, identify the origin of Wharton's interest in architecture and design. We didn't talk about the origin of where she decided to like architecture and design. And furthermore, it's certainly not the primary purpose either. So we can eliminate choice D there. And then choice E, show that contrary to appearances, Wharton was a feminist. Well, it's not contrary to appearances. The author's never discussing whether or not Wharton was a feminist. It's pretty much assumed that she is, even if it's not as outright as some other feminist authors that a reader might be familiar with. So again, we get to the correct answer of A, and if you liked the information within this video, please consider liking it. Also, consider subscribing to the channel for notice about when new explanation videos are released by my guru, and check out the description below for links to full prep test video explanation sets that you can access to help with LSAT prep tests here at LawHub as well. And remember, as you're preparing for the LSAT, that it's supposed to be hard.